She stood in the dim light of the barn, trembling, her breath sharp and shallow. "I can't hold it in anymore," she gasped, her voice quivering like something breaking inside her. The rancher froze, lantern trembling in his rough hands. Outside, the wind howled through the valley, but it was the silence between them that made his blood run cold. It was the kind of silence that comes before something unspeakable. He'd known for days something was wrong. Her eyes no longer looked like her own. She'd wake in the night, screaming, whispering things she couldn't remember in the morning. Now, as the lantern flickered against the barn walls, he saw fear and something darker staring back at him. "Tell me what's happening to you," he said, his voice low, but she only shook her head, her body trembling harder. Her hands clutched her stomach as if something inside wanted out. "You can't help me," she whispered. "He won't let me go." The rancher's heart pounded. He wanted to believe she was just sick, delirious maybe, but her eyes were wild, her lips moving as if another voice hid beneath her own. Then the horses began to shriek in their stalls, slamming against the wooden gates. He took a cautious step forward. The barn smelled of sweat, hay, and something foul, something rotten. "Who won't let you go?" he asked, his voice trembling now. She looked up slowly, tears cutting through the dirt on her cheeks. "The man you buried," she said. "He's not dead. Not to me." Her words hit him like a hammer. The memory he'd buried deep began to claw its way back. He saw it again. The shallow grave in the canyon, the lifeless body, the vow of revenge whispered before the noose snapped. He thought it was over. But now, standing before her, he realized the man's hatred hadn't died. It had just found another vessel. And in her trembling form, in the way her shadow seemed to move on its own, he knew something impossible was unfolding before his eyes. The lantern light flickered, dimmed, then brightened, too bright, too alive. The air thickened, pressing against his chest. "Please," she begged, voice breaking. "Don't come closer. He's here." Her eyes rolled back, and a guttural sound escaped her throat. The rancher froze as the light danced across her face, revealing a grin that wasn't hers. Her voice, not her own, spoke from her lips. "You shouldn't have buried me, Thomas." His knees nearly gave out. That voice, deep, ragged, full of hate, belonged to the dead man himself. The lantern fell, flames licking across the dry straw. The horses screamed louder. She convulsed, her body arching unnaturally. "Stop!" he cried, grabbing her shoulders. Shaking her, but her face twisted in agony, and then in something far worse. She began to laugh. The fire spread fast, but he didn't move. "Let her go," he shouted into the smoke, into the face of the thing that had taken her. Her laughter turned to a scream, and for a moment, just a heartbeat, he saw her eyes again. "Kill me," she whispered. "Play." He crawled backward across the dirt, choking on smoke as the barn filled with firelight. Her voice echoed low and guttural, layered with something monstrous. "You can't save her," it hissed. "She's mine now." He gritted his teeth, coughing, eyes burning. "Then I'll burn with her," he growled, grabbing the fallen lantern and smashing it against the post, sending sparks showering around them. The creature laughed through her, the sound hollow and cruel. Her body twisted unnaturally, joints cracking as she lurched closer. "You killed me once," it said, "and I came back. Kill me again, and I'll take you with me." Her face flickered between hers and the dead man's, a nightmare come alive. The rancher's hands shook, but his jaw locked with grim resolve. "Then let's finish what we started." He snatched a branding iron from the forge, its tip glowing red. The air sizzled as he stepped forward, flames crawling up the walls. "Sarah," he whispered, hoping she was still somewhere inside. Her body froze, trembling violently. "Thomas, please," she cried weakly. "I can't hold it anymore. It hurts." Her eyes filled with tears, one final glimpse of the woman he loved. He lunged, pressing the branding iron against her chest. A scream tore through the night. Two voices, one human, one inhuman. The sound shook the rafters, and the horses broke through the stalls, fleeing into the dark. He fell backward, the heat and force throwing him against the dirt. The smell of burned flesh filled the air as the figure before him collapsed. For a heartbeat, everything went still. The flames danced around her motionless form, and for a moment he thought it was over. Then her hand twitched. Slowly, impossibly, she lifted her head. Her eyes were black as tar. "You think fire can cleanse sin?" The voice hissed. "You buried me wrong, Thomas. Now I'll bury you." He stumbled backward, heart pounding. The walls groaned as the roof began to cave in. He reached for her, desperate to pull her out. But the flames had claimed her dress, her hair, everything. She screamed his name, not the demon, not the dead man, but her. "Thomas!" He froze, tears streaming down his soot-covered face. "Hold on!" he shouted, but she only shook her head, her lips barely moving. "Run!" He refused. He grabbed her, dragging her through the smoke as the barn began to collapse. A beam crashed beside them, sparks flying. The night exploded in orange light. He carried her out into the dirt, falling to his knees as the structure behind them went up in flames. She was limp, her breathing faint, her eyes half open. "It's over," he whispered, clutching her tight. But then she smiled, a slow, cruel smile that didn't belong to her. "No, Thomas," the voice rasped from her throat. "It's just beginning." The air grew colder, the fire behind them burning impossibly bright. He stared into her blackened eyes, horror dawning too late. Whatever he'd tried to save was already gone, and something ancient had taken her place. The ranch was silent the next day. The fields lay still beneath the morning mist, the sky pale and heavy. Thomas sat on the porch, his hands blackened with soot, staring at the charred ruin that had once been his barn. They'd buried her at sunrise just beyond the pasture, beside the old oak. But something inside him knew she wasn't resting, not truly. He could still feel her whispering in the wind. Neighbors came and went, offering words that meant nothing. "It was an accident," they said. "She's at peace now." But peace didn't hang in the air. It was dread that lingered, thick and cold. When the last wagon rolled away, Thomas remained alone. He poured a drink, but his hands shook too hard to lift it. And then, faintly, from across the field, he heard her voice. "Thomas!" He froze. The glass shattered on the porch. "No," he whispered, standing slowly. The sound came again, soft, pleading. "Thomas, please, help me." His blood turned to ice. The voice was coming from the oak. He walked toward it, each step heavier than the last. The soil was fresh, still damp from the burial. As he knelt beside the grave, a gust of wind blew through the branches, carrying her voice once more. "It hurts, Thomas." He clenched his fists, trembling. "You're gone," he said. "You're gone, Sarah." But the ground shifted beneath his knees, just slightly, enough to make him stumble back. He stared, heart hammering. Then slowly a hand, blackened, burned, broke through the earth. He screamed, falling backward as the fingers clawed toward the surface. "No, not again." The soil erupted. Her face emerged, charred and lifeless, eyes hollow yet burning with something dark. "You promised," she croaked. "Oh, you'd never leave me." He staggered to his feet, stumbling toward the barn's ruins, grabbing the shotgun that leaned by the fence. "Stay back!" he shouted, though his voice cracked with terror. But she kept coming, dragging herself across the ground, whispering his name with every crawl. The wind howled, dust swirling through the field. He aimed the gun, tears streaming down his face. "I'm sorry," he said. "I'm so damn sorry." He fired. The blast echoed across the valley. Her body fell still, but her voice didn't stop. It was in his head now, whispering from within. "Now you'll never leave me, Thomas." He dropped the gun, clutching his ears, screaming into the empty sky. The world around him blurred. The oak shivered, its bark blackening, and the grave split open, swallowing what remained of her. When silence returned, the field was still again, but the rancher was not. His eyes, once blue as the sky, had turned to ink. By the next morning, the ranch was deserted. The sheriff found only one set of footprints, leading from the porch to the grave, and none returning. Some nights travelers swear they see a light in the ruins of the barn, and a man's silhouette standing beside the oak, whispering softly to someone unseen. They say he's still there, keeping his promise. Trapped Bay. Years passed, but the valley never healed. The ranch fell into ruin, the fields turned to dust, and no one dared to settle near the burnt-out shell that once held so much pain. They called it Whispering Hollow, a place where the wind carried voices and the ground seemed to breathe. Yet one night, long after anyone remembered the names Thomas or Sarah, a new rancher rode in, unknowingly into damnation. He was a drifter, weary and desperate for land. The old property was cheap, too cheap, and the townsfolk warned him to stay away. "Nothing grows there," an old man muttered, "and the dead don't rest easy." But he only laughed, saying he didn't believe in ghosts. When he saw the oak standing alone in the field, twisted and black, he felt a strange chill but shook it off. He was here to rebuild, not to remember. That night, as he laid his bedroll near the barn's skeletal remains, he heard footsteps outside, soft, measured, too heavy to be wind. He grabbed his rifle and stepped into the darkness. The moon hung low, pale as bone, and the air stank faintly of smoke. Then from the shadows, a woman's whisper brushed against his ear. "I can't hold it in any more." His heart froze. The voice was close, too close. He turned, lantern shaking, and saw her standing by the oak, hair drifting as if underwater, her eyes hollow, glowing faintly in the dark. "Who's there?" he shouted, but his words died in his throat. She took a step forward, her voice breaking. "Help me, please." Her dress was torn, her skin blistered from fire. Behind her, another figure emerged, a tall man, motionless, eyes black as coal. The drifter stumbled back, the rifle slipping from his hands. The man spoke, his voice like gravel. "You shouldn't have come here." The earth trembled underfoot. The woman's face twisted, the same pained expression frozen in torment. "He won't let me go," she whispered. The drifter turned to run, but the field stretched endlessly now, no road, no horizon, only whispering wind and the echo of their suffering. The lantern flickered, then went out. Darkness swallowed everything. Somewhere in the blackness, he heard them, Thomas and Sarah, arguing, crying, laughing, their voices blending into something unholy. He fell to his knees, clutching his head, as hands, cold and rough, gripped his shoulders from behind. "You'll stay," the man hissed. Someone must keep the promise. When dawn came, the field was quiet again. Only the drifter's horse remained, reins trailing in the dirt, eyes wide with terror. The house was gone, rebuilt, then burned again as if it had never existed. Some said they saw 3 figures that morning. Standing beneath the oak, a woman with a burnt face, a man with black eyes, and a third, new, trembling, bound in shadow. Even now, travelers who pass through the valley at night claim to hear that same haunting voice in the wind. It starts as a whisper, barely there, before rising into a cry that chills the blood. "I can't hold it in anymore."